Hi, John Farrell with the Farrell Law Firm, and today I want to know if you have ever met your local probate court judge. But first, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We put out new videos every Tuesday and Friday, and make sure that you hit the like button because every like helps. Hi, this is John Farrell with the Farrell Law Firm. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am the author of Estate Planning for the Modern Family and was recently voted one of the top 3 lawyers here in Cobb County, Georgia, along with the law firm being voted one of the top 3 law firms here in Cobb County, Georgia. Well, today I want to know if you have ever met your local probate court judge. Here in Georgia, there are 159 counties, there's 159 probate courts, and there is a local judge for all of them. And so I'm wondering if you have ever met them. Oftentimes when people come into the office and they have minor children, that'll be one of the first things that I ask them. The reason that we ask this question is because the answer is almost always no. The answer is almost always no, that they have never met the local probate court judge. Well, the reason that this is important is because if you pass away without a last will and testament in Georgia, that probate court judge, the person you have never met, a total stranger to you, will decide who raises your children. That's right. In Georgia, you need a will to name a guardian for your children. So if you have minor children here in Georgia and you do not have a last will and testament, then your local probate court judge is going to be the person who decides who raises your kids if you pass away without a last will and testament. Imagine that. Someone that you have never met and you'd probably have no reason to meet. They will be the person who decides who raises your kids if you don't have a will naming your guardian. Well, how does the probate court make that decision as to who those people are going to be? Well, the judge has a list of people that they go through, and here's the list. First, they will choose an adult who is the preference of the minor, if that minor is over 14. So if you have a child and they're over 14, the first person with preference will be the person who the minor prefers to be raised by. Secondly, it will be a nearest adult of the minor. No, I'm sorry, not the nearest adult, the nearest adult relative of the minor. Secondly, they will consider other adult relatives who aren't the nearest relative. So maybe there is another adult relative who just doesn't happen to be the nearest relative. So that is the third person. So number 1, the preference of the minor, if they're over 14. 2, they will consider adult relatives of the minor. Third, they will choose between the other relatives of the minor, adult relatives, who may not be the nearest relative, but that's the third person that they choose. 4, they will consider people who are related to the minor by marriage as a person. And again, they're going through this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 is the person who may be related to the minor by marriage. 5th, could be an adult who is designated in writing other than a will by the parent. So for example, there are things that a parent can do without getting a last will and testament to name a guardian. Unfortunately, those people are number 5 on the list of people that the court will prefer to raise your children if you pass away without a last will and testament. And finally, the court may choose someone who has provided care or provided support for the minor, or perhaps someone who has lived with the minor. So that's 6th on the list. So those are the 6 tiers that a court will go through, with the number 1 preference being an adult who is the preference of the minor if the minor is over 14, and last preference in order of preference is someone who has provided care or perhaps have lived with the minor. And all those other people that are in between have varying degrees of preference, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now the thing to keep in mind is that this preference, it is still up to the judge to decide. And the judge has the right to decide who raises your kids if you do not have a last will and testament. So even though there is someone who is the preference of the minor, if they are over 14, remember they are the person with the top preference, the judge actually may choose somebody lower on that list ahead of that person. It's because it is the judge's decision to decide what is in the best interest of that child to see who raises that child if you pass away without a last will and testament. Again, if you pass away without a last will and testament in Georgia and you do not have a will naming a guardian to be the person who's going to raise your kids, then that local probate court judge is going to be the person who decides who raises your kids. So if you don't know the local probate court judge, maybe this is an opportunity for you to get to know the local probate court judge. Find out, make sure the judge knows your preferences, who you would prefer to raise your children, your ideals, what you would like for your child to be when they grow up. Everything that you need the judge to know about who raises your child, you will want the judge to know that. Or you can do one simple thing. Here is that one simple thing. Get a last will and testament naming a guardian for that child, and the court will give great deference to that person. In other words, the court will bend over backwards to make sure that the person you've named as a guardian in your last will and testament is the person who actually raises your children. Otherwise, the judge is not going to know who you would want to raise your children, and they will just have to make the best educated guess they can to determine somebody to raise your children. So if you haven't met your local probate court judge and you have minor children, make sure you have a last will and testament in place so that that local probate court judge can know who should raise your kids. All right, that's all we have to go over today. If you have watched any of our videos for any amount of time, you know that what I do is I help people set up estate plans to do things just like I mentioned, to make sure they have guardians for their children if something were to happen to them. Well, one of the things that we've done, and something that you're going to want to do, is that we've written a book called Estate Planning for the Modern Family. You'll see it right here on the shelf behind me. You're going to want to grab a copy of that book, and I'll put the link in the description below so that you can purchase a copy of the book for yourself. It is a great starting point for people that want to get their estate plan started. Next, if you want to learn a little bit more about myself or the firm, or perhaps you want to set up a free consultation for yourself. We do free consultations. There is a link in the description below where you can reach out to us to set up that free consultation, or you can simply call us here at the office at 678-809-4922. That's 678-809-4922. But make sure that you subscribe to the channel because we put out new videos every Tuesday and Friday, and make sure that you hit the like button because every like helps.